On this channel, you can find videos about my daily life, travel vlogs, my life in the US, but it is ultimately about critical thinking and being critical towards the habits and the common beliefs that we have, questioning what we usually give for granted. I recently took a trip in Europe and went to visit some very touristy destinations, which is not typical of me as a traveler, and therefore I had the chance to read some frequently asked questions on the websites of these mass tourist sites. I saw several FAQs that I really did not like, and that's what gave me the idea to make this video. How many days do I need to visit a certain place? The reason why I don't like this question is because it standardizes the experience of a place. If it's a medium-sized city that you're visiting, you're going to only need a day and a half. If it's a bigger city, you need 3 to 5 days. If it's a huge city, a week to 10 days. If it's a whole country, 1 to 2 weeks. And maybe if you're in a rural area, just half a day is enough. But I wonder why. Based on what do people make these time estimates? Who decides them? Trastevere in Rome is something a tourist cannot miss. But La Garbatella is a neighborhood that, they say, is not so important, so a tourist can skip it. This is decided based on the assumption that every traveler has the same interests, that certain historical era is more interesting for every tourist. Nonetheless, each one of us has different interests and is attracted to different things. And in a place like Rome that I took as an example here, you can find every possible historical era represented. Why reduce the touristic attractions to just the Roman era and the Renaissance, when so many tourists would have a much better experience visiting the medieval monuments or the peculiar 20th century architecture, or even some contemporary amazing collective places like Forte Prenestino? The problem here is that you end up with massive crowds of tourists in the same few places of the city, which become inhabitable for the actual inhabitants, and let those travelers go through unpleasant travel experiences. Why would you do that? Who decides that if you go to Iceland, you can only experience it if you have at least 1 week or 10 days? How do you calculate that a week is enough to visit the city of New York? I think that if you have only 1 day to visit this city, it's doable. On the other side, if you live a lifetime in this city, it's not going to be enough to visit everything. So what are we talking about here? The one and only reason I see why there are such habits is the fact that there is a whole industry that profits from tourism. These standardized packages are created by the tourism industry to systematize the touristic experience so that they can profit more and easier from it. Take a gorgeous region like Friuli Venezia Giulia. Located in the northeast of Italy, it is a unique crossroad between Slavic, German, and Latin world. The nature is stunning, the culture unbelievably rich, the variety endless. Yet no traditional tour operator or travel blog will offer you to spend your holidays there. Some alternative ones might do within a North of Italy tour package, where they might dedicate a day or even only half a day to the whole area. I would like to see travelers building their own trips in a more spontaneous and personalized way, spending as much time as they feel like in one place. And I also encourage you, if you're traveling somewhere, to not feel like you have to see everything because it's going to be your only chance in your life to see that place. I see so many people not organizing a trip that they've been dreaming of just because they have not managed yet to take enough days in a row off for that. Don't procrastinate on taking that trip. You know it might be too late at some point. Book that destination instead, book that train ticket, that flight ticket, even if you have only a very minimal amount of time. If you really like it the way you imagined you would, you can always go back and stay longer when you have the possibility. Another very common question that people ask is this place worth visiting? I would personally always answer yes to this question, because to me, every corner of this incredible planet is worth visiting. I think if you are a passionate person, you are able to find something interesting in every and any type of environment. And a trip is per se always an experience that makes you grow and makes you learn something new about the world around you and also about yourself. So even if you're going literally to a landfill in Central Asia, that's still gonna be worth visiting, in my opinion. Now I'm making an exaggeration, of course, but I really don't understand this question. To me, visiting Rome in the middle of August with the harsh sun hitting my head and the crowds of tourists is literally a pain. But if you ask me if it's worth visiting under these conditions, I will tell you, yes, it is worth visiting. Similarly, if someone asks me if it's worth visiting the outskirts of an ugly city, I will say yes, it is worth visiting because I'm sure I would find something interesting there too. What really makes a trip is not what you are seeing. It's more the people that you are meeting, the people that you are getting to know, and the experiences that you're gonna remember from that trip. And that can be awful or unbelievably beautiful, both in a super touristy destination or in a place where you're gonna be the only tourist there. An expression that I hear a lot said by Americans is, have you done that place? For example, let's say that you have been traveling to Europe and you're going to say, oh yeah, we've done Ukraine, Serbia, and Romania, but next time we will go back and we're going to also do Bulgaria and Turkey. This might be a completely personal remark, but I really don't like this expression. It makes me feel like you're crossing the box next to the name of a place. Like, I've done it, I've done it, that's done. And that's also the reason why I don't like bucket lists as well. And some people really love bucket lists because they like to have a plan or a project in front of them, black or white, that's fine. But I feel like in the last years with social media, it's really become such a trend to have a bucket list to go to a certain number of countries, for example, or to be able to say that you have visited a certain number of countries or you have been in each one of the continents of the world, stuff like that. I would much rather have travelers going to the same place every year or spending 2 full months in a place rather than having them in 2 weeks visiting 8 different countries. We need to travel more slowly, go more in depth, and spread ourselves out less horizontally. More vertical travel, meaning getting to know deeper a place rather than spreading yourself out geographically, just because transportation is so cheap nowadays. And lastly, the question that I hear the most. When people ask me suggestions about their trip, they are going to ask me, is 1 day enough to visit this? I never know what to answer. This ties in a circle with what I was talking about at the beginning of this video. If you are a passionate, interested person, you are going to find something wonderful in every corner of this world, in every corner of any city. And personally, I don't think 1 day is enough to visit anything, not even a small town, because you're not going to be able to feel the real atmosphere of the changing of the seasons, of the festivals, those of the work days that people from the town lives. So on one side, 1 day is never enough. But on the other side, if that's all you have, even less than 1 day is enough. I'm the queen of leveraging layovers to visit places. And if you follow my channel, you know about that because I've visited Portugal twice, Iceland, Berlin, Paris. I've done so many few-hour trips in a country just because I had to change my flight there to get to my final destination. And I choose a flight that would give me enough time to leave the airport and spend a few hours just having a glimpse of the city where I landed. So I can tell you that even 3 hours outside of the airport is gonna be enough to at least have an idea of how a country feels like, of seeing the signs written in a different language, using a different currency, hearing foreign words being spoken out loud, looking at the way how people dress, how houses are built, how public buildings look like, how roads are constructed, the way the air smells, the humidity, the dryness, the specific vegetation you can see on the side of the roads. There are so many little things that you can discover about a new place that you've never been to that can be seen within just a few hours. So rather than not visiting a place at all, I think that even half an hour is enough. If you're taking a road trip with your car and you're passing through several different places, if you can, just stop sometimes. Take a 10 minutes break, feel the air outside of your vehicle, look at the different landscape, drink a coffee at the bar. That's still going to be enough. So don't come and ask me if one day is enough to visit a place, because the answer depends on you, really. It depends on how good you are at activating your curiosity, at sparking interest in things that are different than the ones that you're used to, which is really, ultimately, the core meaning of traveling.